I've been in that situation before. Yep.
Here we go.
We're all good?
Are you ready? Yes, ready.
Well, it's wonderful to be here at the Queensland Museum with Dr. Thompson and Dr. Hucknall and to be able to be part of announcing Queensland's 10th state emblem. And I'm very pleased to say that the votes are in, they've been tallied up. The response from Queenslanders has been very strong to make it clear that they want to have Muttaburrasaurus langdoni as our state fossil. Adding to our suite of state emblems, this is an exciting way that we can celebrate the extraordinary role Queensland has in Australia's and the world's fossil collection, and particularly because I know it's so exciting to so many people, the role that we have in terms of our dinosaur fossils is pretty important, and it not only contributes to understanding our prehistory and our stories and contributes to those, but it's also a very important part of our state's tourist economy as well. We know that we want to see more citizen scientists getting out there and being part of what is a 21st century dinosaur rush here in outback Queensland. And this declaration of mutt, as some paleontologists tell me that they know Muttaburrasaurus langdoni as, but to see the Muttaburrasaurus celebrated in this way by all Queenslanders is a very exciting step, but I hope it will inspire more people to get out there to learn more about our prehistory, learn more about these extraordinary specimens and the way in which they're discovered, identified and collected and looked after to be able to help tell those stories for generations to come. I think in 1963 when Doug Langdon came across the skull, a fossilised skull of the specimen that this model behind us represents, he never would have thought that anything like this would become so central to the way in which Queenslanders understand their prehistory. But I know that he and so many others like him who have been excited by our prehistory and excited by our dinosaur stories here in Queensland will use this opportunity around celebrating our state emblem, our state fossil emblem, the Muttaburrasaurus fossil, as something to tell those stories and celebrate those stories for a long time to come. I am pleased that this forms part of the way in which we're supporting that tourism opportunity that is represented by our Outback's commitment to the dinosaur trail. We've provided funding and support for the development of a dinosaur roadmap to help us connect all those great, unique places where you can not only see what makes the great Queensland Outback so special in a global and Australian context, but also learn about how important our commitment to that ongoing work that is the dinosaur rush of the 21st century, how important that is as part of celebrating what's so special about Outback Queensland in places like Eromanga, in Richmond, in Hughenden and in Winton, with the extraordinarily spectacular Age of Dinosaurs facility. There are so many great things to see and encourage people to be more inspired by what fantastic things they can see here at the Queensland Museum, but take that further step and get out to Outback Queensland and enjoy it. But while talking about the particular facilities and opportunity to experience that iconic fossil in the Muttaburrasaurus langdoni, let me hand over to Dr. Jim Thompson, as CEO of Queensland Museum, the custodians of this very, very special fossil.
Thanks, Minister. Look, I'd just like to say how delighted we are that there is now a fossil emblem for Queensland, and how delighted we are that it's Muttaburrasaurus langdoni. It really has been part of the museum for such a long time. The story of dinosaurs is a great story in Queensland. We have a large number of the dinosaurs that are found across this continent, and far more than any other state that we've got. For us, there was obviously a really difficult choice in picking the winner of the fossil emblem in Queensland, but what we had was a choice of an amazing array of animals that lived 100 to nearly 200 million years ago, that represented animals of the sea, that represented almost precursors to what some of our animals look like today, some giant alligators, some giant land-living animals and some giant sea-dwelling animals. But for us, in many ways, Muttaburrasaurus, which has been part of the museum for such a long time, was a really great choice. This dinosaur was discovered, as the Minister had said, by Doug Langdon at his property, and then through work through over 20 years they finally got to the point where they were able to describe this species and give it a name, and that was done by one of the previous directors of the museum. And the museum has a great history in naming species and being part of dinosaurs discoveries and fossil discoveries in this state. The first dinosaur ever named in Australia was named by a Queensland Museum director in 1926. So our history of searching for dinosaurs and being part of the dinosaur discovery in Queensland has been really long held, and we're really proud of that. We will continue to do this. We've got a strong paleontology group that works with us, and we're really delighted to continue to sort of do this research and continue to find new species which are coming up all the time, probably more so now. As the Minister said, the dinosaur rush for us is almost now. We're seeing real changes to the types of animals that we're finding and the frequency of animals that we're finding. And I might let Scott Hocknell talk about some of that more recent discoveries and some of the old discoveries too, and I think Scott's got a personal attachment to Muttaburrasaurus as well, because I think that's the animal that really started his career.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Minister. Muttaburrasaurus to me is a fantastic choice for the fossil emblem. It represents what Australian dinosaurs are. It's uniquely Australian. Muttaburra is where it comes from. We've named it Muttaburrasaurus langdoni after Doug Langdon, the guy who found it, and he was a local. He was a Western Queenslander, and that's fantastic because that story has repeated itself time and time again over history. These discoveries that are made by just citizen science, as the Minister said, these individuals that live on the land, that work the land, they find and they make these discoveries, and without them, we don't have a dinosaur record, we don't have a dinosaur rush. And with those communities coming together and actually creating these amazing collections of fossils, Muttaburrasaurus becomes just the tip of the iceberg of the Australian dinosaur rush. It's really exciting for me as well, because as a paleontologist, when I was a kid and I came into the museum when I was 12 years old, which is some 30 odd years ago, I met Muttaburrasaurus for the first time. I'd learned about Tyrannosaurus rex and Velociraptor and Diplodocus and all these dinosaurs that kids know, but then I got to meet Muttaburrasaurus. And as a volunteer, getting to go into the labs and actually prepare and physically remove the rock from around the bones of this dinosaur was inspiring to me. And being able to work on an actual real dinosaur and touch a real dinosaur fossil was a massive inspiration to me, and it led me to become a paleontologist. And that's the key part. Museums are custodians of all of these fossils. Whether you think that Muttaburrasaurus is the icon or the fossil emblem, or you think Australovenator was, or Australotitan, whatever you voted for, they're all equally important. They're all equally exciting, and they're amazing parts of our natural history, because each and every little component makes for our national identity, and without it, we don't have an Australian story. And so this is an exciting time for us in the Queensland Museum, and in particular as a paleontologist, to finally have a Queensland fossil emblem. We have fossil emblems from the States, from around Australia, and it really puts a focus on Queensland as sort of the centre for dinosaur discoveries. So Muttaburrasaurus in particular is a really, really important species, and we're looking at new things all the time. We're using new technology to understand the skull of Muttaburrasaurus, or of the bones of the other sauropod dinosaurs from Winton and Eromanga. All of these sites are all coming together to paint a picture of what life was like in Australia 100 million years ago. So I hope that gives you an idea of how inspirational these animals can be. They may be a bunch of old bones, old fossils, but they really tell a big story, and that big story is uniquely Australian. Thank you.
So happy to answer any questions anyone has at this point.
You spoke about your personal connection, but was it, so it might be a bit of bias.
Sorry, yep.
Was it close? Was there any other fossils that you thought came close to?
That came close to well, I am totally biased because I named 3 of the species that were on the list. None of them got up. But that's, oh well, I'm glad because we should honour the people that came before us. And Dr. Alan Bartholomew, who I got to be, he was one of my mentors, and Dr. Ralph Molnar, who's now over in the States. Those 2 individuals, those 2 paleontologists were the inspiration for me to be a paleontologist in Queensland. I was told when I was a kid that you'll never become a paleontologist here in Australia. There are no dinosaurs. Go and buy a plane ticket, fly overseas, work somewhere else. But no, Queensland is full of dinosaurs, full of paleontology, all sorts of life. And when you look at the list, it didn't just cover dinosaurs. There's megafauna, there's the amazing, amazing World Heritage fossils from Riversley in northwestern Queensland. There are beautiful fossil plants. When we started thinking about when the idea was pitched about a fossil emblem, the list I had was this long, not 12. So when we look at it, you could have a fossil emblem for every single region of Australia, every single region of Queensland. And that's the exciting thing, is that when you think about an icon or an emblem, it's got to have meaning that is personal to you. And I think for the public, especially for kids that have been coming to the museum for decades and seeing old Mutt behind me, that's inspiration. That's something that they can say, well, that's an Australian dinosaur. That's legit Australian. It's not from overseas. And yeah, it's ours that we can be proud of.
So it's unique to the continent. It's not found anywhere else?
No, Muttaburrasaurus is not found anywhere else. That's correct. It's related to a group of dinosaurs called ornithopods. And those ornithopods are shared with South America and Antarctica. So when we were part of Gondwana, there was this shared relationship between Australia and South America. And that's a really interesting story in itself. But Muttaburrasaurus as a species is unique, as is all of the dinosaurs that we've found so far in Australia. Not one of them is found anywhere else.
Minister, out west has become a bit of a jewel in the tourism crown, the fossil sites. Is this a bit of a nod to the emerging popularity of the fossils?
Oh, there's no question that the dinosaur trail that is represented by Western Queensland, as I said, with the places like Eromanga, Hughenden, Richmond and Winton, is something that is added to. It's something that's added to and supported the real renaissance that there's been in outback tourism. One of those reasons why we're seeing so many families getting out and about and enjoying Western Queensland rather than some of the traditional sort of images of grey nomads has been inspired by that dinosaur trail, been inspired by getting out and seeing firsthand where these amazing creatures, the fossilised remains of these amazing creatures have been found, and understanding the story of the finding and preserving and looking after that record. So there's no doubt that that's played a key role, but I also suspect that there's an awful lot of so-called grow nomads as well who are really excited about getting out amongst where the dinosaurs are found and maybe finding their own.
Are there more out there?
Oh, there's no question. Talking to Dr. Hucknall today, that this issue, this concept of the dinosaur rush, in other parts of the globe, that happened 150 years ago, where all of these amazing fossils were found in a short period of time. That is what we are seeing here, particularly in Queensland, particularly in outback Queensland, right at the moment. And the prediction is that we'll see more. We'll see even more extraordinary specimens from 100, 200 million years ago found in our great Queensland outback.
Do we have a late contender for the Olympics logo?
I don't know if you think something that's 100 million years old is a late contender, but I do think that these are. It's interesting to see the ways in which the world will see and understand who we are as Queenslanders, as Australians, and I know that our dinosaur story is part of that story. So yeah, perhaps this is something that could be have a look at, but their matters I'll leave to the organising committee of Brisbane 2032. The Olympic and Paralympic Games is a great opportunity to tell our story, but wonderful friends like Muttaburrasaurus langdoni are another way to tell our story to the globe.
Yeah. I think pitch to the community for the marketing role is maybe closing soon. How's that been? Have you been flooded with?
Well, again, that's a matter for the organising committee. I know that there has been significant interest from some great Queensland companies who do great work in this area to get their pitches in, as it were. But that's a matter that the organising committee is looking after. But I understand that their requests were going through until, I think, early November.
And the federal budget on Tuesday, is there anything particular that you're hoping to see out of that, about being a first Labor budget?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing a great Queenslander who's very passionate about our state and very passionate about our country, Jim Chalmers, stand up on Tuesday night and deliver his first budget as Treasurer of Australia. And I know that he'll be committed to what we need to do in facing the circumstances that we have now, not only what we face here in Australia with a range of challenges, but also globally. But he'll have a strong eye on what's good for Queensland as well. I'm confident of that.
Julie Collins was here at the Housing Summit and she seems engaged with working to improve housing across the country. Are you hoping that, or looking forward to maybe a big housing announcement?
Well, I think there's no question that the housing challenges that we experience here in Queensland are not unique. They're across the whole country, but they are ones that we are keen to work with as the Palaszczuk government, keen to work with the Albanese government on all fronts. In all ways in which we can influence it, and also work with local government as well. So it is certainly a key issue nationally, and so I wouldn't be surprised that it's something that the federal budget addresses.
Southern states are fighting over Magic Round in the AFL. Have you thought about maybe bringing Magic Round 2.0?
I think we do a great job with Magic Round for the NRL. We've got the right venue for that. We've got the right capability to deliver it. I think the challenges around an AFL version of Magic Round is that you can't do it in one venue because of the nature of the games and the length of games times and so forth. So I think this is something that we'll leave to others to fight over, while we maintain and continue to deliver the extraordinary catalytic experience that NRL Magic Round has been for a number of years now.
I just wanted to one question, just to go back on that emblem.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just thinking, just for the TV, it might be good to just sort of explain a little bit about the basics about the emblem, how it might be working and going and everything. Just give a little rundown on everything.
Sure, I think, no question it's important to understand the context of our state emblems. As I say, the Muttaburrasaurus langdoni will be our 10th state emblem, and really that's just a bit of official recognition of things that are important to our state and we can use as symbols of our state and our community. The other state emblems include things like our state flag, like our state badge, the coat of arms that people see around and is sort of so ubiquitous. But it's also the fauna and floral and bird emblems like the koala, the Cooktown orchid, and the brolga. But then there's some of the special ones that are a bit more like what we're talking about here with the state fossil, like the sapphire, and then also the colour maroon. It's an official state emblem. So they're all the ways in which we can celebrate and show our pride about our state. And one other way to do it is to particularly celebrate and join with those other states around the country, and indeed jurisdictions internationally, that have a fossil emblem, and it's wonderful to have the Muttaburrasaurus as Queensland's fossil emblem. All good.